This is Wild on 7th, your favorite Wild podcast.
Did you guys see this? This is unbelievable. What is that all about, Kinger?
Get in here for the real thing.
Like, let's get weird.
Maybe I blacked out trying to figure out what was going on. Doubt, worry, fear, because that's what we're breaking the mold on here.
Welcome to Wild on 7th, presented by Pilot Games. We're here until it's here.
Welcome back to Wild on 7th, your favorite Wild podcast. It's our favorite time of the year, playoff hockey. We might be in Vegas, but I'm still kind of longing to be at home with one of those tablets. You know, you can run over to the casino and play the slots and get right into blackjack, poker, but nothing beats the games that Pilot Games puts in front of us. Make sure when you're out enjoying your libations, watching these late games in the Central, that you grab one of their tablets, play their games, because when you do, your community wins. Hey guys, let me bring everybody in here. We've got Kinger in studio. What's up? We've got Radio Joe O'Donnell on the mic with us, coming from across the hall, maybe here in Vegas. But let's get Kinger. Let's start with you, my man. How are we feeling about the game, the Wild's game one? The great vibes going into it. How are you feeling coming out of it?
I'm really glad you started with me because I need some. I'm having trouble processing it, and I know that Joe had a Super Bowl victory recently. You're a Stanley Cup champion. By all accounts, they played pretty well. I'll say a couple strange things, and you can help me see if you felt this. In a way, it didn't feel like a playoff game. Does that sound? Mm-hmm. There was something about it that didn't feel like a playoff game. It felt like a continuation of the regular season. We out-hit them. We turned into face-off savants randomly. So there was stuff that was good, but it kind of – the part I didn't like is that if you were to handicap the series, you might say, well, maybe Vegas is a 55 chance and the Wild are a 45 chance, and it kind of played out eerily similar like that. Like, oh, they're a little bit better than us, and they got us, but we played well. It's a new experience. It wasn't like you won game one and you're on this high. It wasn't like you played terrible and you're already dismayed about the series. I actually don't know how to feel. So what did you guys feel in the building? I guess I'm positive, slightly positive, just because of the hitting and the face-offs and the stars being stars. Goalie was fine. I don't know. I'm kind of trying to figure it out. I need some help.
Jump in there, Radio Joe. What did you think? I'll comment quick. I do think that the arena didn't feel like it was playoffs. I thought it was going to be like ruckus and wild and a hostile environment, and I think it wasn't at any point in time. And I don't know if the corporate nature of Vegas's audience kind of played a factor in that or not, but it really didn't feel like the crowd got into it and like it was. And they had rally towels, they had it all going, but it just and maybe it's because the Wild played well enough to keep the crowd out of it. Like there was no like real momentum kind of creating moments, plays, but I think you're absolutely right. And I think the sentiments out of the locker room yesterday too were that this felt like a continuation of the regular season. Our play ramped up, the physicality ramped up a little bit, but the atmosphere didn't. You see that, Joe?
It's interesting you guys say that because, and we talked about this a little bit last night, Carts, after the game, and it might just because I'm radio and you guys are TV, but like the mix I was getting in my headphones from the engineer made it sound like it was raucous in there. So like I didn't leave the game thinking the crowd was weak. Like I wasn't blown away, but I didn't think it was underwhelming. And that could have literally just been because of the mix I get in my headphones, like the engineers riding the ice mics and the crowd, and it just kind of felt like it did ramp up. I thought the pace of play, the physicality was there for maybe game one. I don't, the one thing I will say, it felt like a lot was going on behind the puck. Like I didn't think the pace was so fast that from a broadcast standpoint, I was like, whoa, they're ripping it around and guys are flying up and down the ice more so than expected. but it felt like there was a lot going on behind the play, whether that was Wild players getting interfered with and no calls were coming and the crowd was reacting to that, or they felt that there should have been calls on the Wild that weren't coming. It just felt like there were hits behind the play, interactions behind the play that were a little bit different than what you'd see in a regular season game, a little bit more spiciness there. Again, just one man's opinion. I thought the Wild played well. I thought they gave themselves a chance to win. But then when I look at it at night's end, they had just 21 shots on goal, which was kind of the issue against Vegas in the regular season series. We talked about last podcast at the Mall of America. The Wild were undermanned in all three of those games lineup-wise. They were in the second of a back-to-back in all three games against Vegas. But Vegas won the season series, especially meetings 2 and 3, rather handily. Tonight, or last night, I should say, didn't feel like Vegas won it handily. But at the end of the night, it's a 4-2 final with the late empty netter, and the Wild had just 21 shots on goal. So a little bit of a mixed bag for me. I think if they play the way they played in Game 1, they're going to give themselves a chance in this series, but they need to find something a little extra. This Vegas team's really good, and 21 shots on goal, like you can't expect to score 3 if you're only getting 21 shots. Like Aiden Hill is a pretty darn good goaltender. So there were chances. I felt like to shoot more pucks. They got a lot of shots blocked. The Wild did last night. They had 27 attempts blocked. They've got to find a way to get more pucks through the net, especially early in the game in Game 2.
I don't think Aiden Hill looked bulletproof right out of the gate. A couple of pucks got through him. I don't think he played the puck cleanly, but I also think that Vegas is built to play a certain way. And we were watching Cassidy's, I think it was practice day 2 days ago, and they were talking about Aiden Hill, and he's like, yeah, Aiden Hill's a great goaltender, 50 starts. It's what we both wanted, player and team. So you got the workload. And they're like, well, what else has gone well for him? And Cassidy said, we think he's just kind of figured out how to play with the team in front of him. And I think that that's what last night was. Like he knows how to play with the big tree standing out in front of him, how to make the first save. He doesn't have to be, flying around the crease, making acrobatic saves. As long as he can stop the first one and be technical, I think his job, and he's good at it. Now, I think the Wild are going to have to find a way to somehow get second and third chances. I think pucks are there at times, but I think it's going to be challenging too, because there's got to be a commitment from everybody to shoot and then everybody to go to the net. Almost like, hey, we're going to concede the pretty goal, and we've just got to find a way to get some grind goals. Now, with that said, the only line that really produced a lot of offense was that top group, and the one goal was obviously a pretty one. And I do think the right guys were scoring. Like if the Wild are going to win this series, they need Kaprizov, they need Boldy, they need that top group scoring. So those guys getting off the mat right away and getting on the scoreboard, I think is good. When I look at the game and the matchups, I think Kaprizov, Boldy, Ek outplayed the Eichel line. And coming into the series, I felt like that's one of the keys to the Wild winning this series was the Ek line has to be better than Eichel's line. And I didn't notice him much. Like he looked like he kind of wanted to be perimeter. No, he got the break, the lone break, and Gustafsson made a tremendous save, and he made a couple of other players, but it didn't. And again, Joe, to your point on why it didn't feel like the pace was out of control, I don't think that Vegas was flying. I almost feel like Vegas in the playoffs, it feels like at times can come down to this. The team that can dictate pace and play is the team that wins and gets the outcome that they want. And I think Vegas was able to kind of slow that game down to their pace. They didn't have to fly around, race around. We didn't see Eichel top speed. And they kind of controlled the pace that way. And with that, I think they controlled the flow of the game.
John Hines talked about pressuring up the ice when we met with him yesterday. He talked about playing behind the Vegas defense, chipping pucks when they needed to. You were there when we chatted with him. Carts, like, did you feel they accomplished some of those goals as far as having a better forecheck? Like, I thought the Wild's fourth line was really good. Part of the reason you acquired Justin Brazeau and you signed Yakov Trenyan in the summer were for these games, for their big frames, for their size, their puck protection, making it harder on the opposition. What did you think of the fourth line? And then did you think the Wild kind of checked some of those boxes that John Hines talked about? Forecheck up the ice, pressure pressuring Vegas all over the ice and then chipping pucks when they had to kind of play behind them.
Yeah, I like the fourth line. I think Trennian had 8 hits. I don't know what Brazeau registered. I thought Hartman was probably the most noticeable forward not named Kaprizov or Boldy, the faceoff circle, but Hartman was, and I made this comment on the broadcast too. Some of the guys that Billy got are playoff guys, and I think Hartman falls under that category, and I think Trennian does too. And Hartman showed up. I thought he had a great game. King, do you like what you saw out of Ryan Hartman, the quote unquote playoff guy?
Oh, I mean, this is a guy with a lead pipe in the trunk of his car. And you know it's going to happen. Actually, Matt Dumba was that way too back when we had him. There's just certain guys when people are like, "Hey, everybody, we're meeting in the parking lot and there's going to be a rumble." And like Hartman's like, "Cool." I mean, he was so good. He was so noticeable. I don't know how he was doing his line changes because it seemed like he was always on the ice with different groups of people. So I don't know if he just like hung out for double shifts and was like, okay, Justin and Yak, you guys can head to the bench. I'm kind of working on something here, but he was involved. He's getting cross-checked in the face. He got. I wanted to ask about hitting because the thing that was weird last night is, so we way out hit Vegas, right? We had 54 hits. They had 29. But, man, the hits they had on our guys were the kind of hits where you're watching a series. Like, I think I saw Brodin get hit multiple times, and all I can think of is this is a guy that made it 6 games last time we played Vegas. He's getting got. Hartman just ran into the cigarette machine at center ice. They had a big one on Boldy on the wall. So Marcus has 11 hits, Trennan 8, Boldy 6, awesome, and Brazeau 4. But like I felt like we didn't get anybody. Like we didn't have the kind of hit where you go, that's going to leave a mark. Like that's in your you put that in the notes in your phone. Game 3, you still remember that shot on the boards you took. So, and it's not their fault. I just think they didn't get clean, crisp blows on guys. Did you feel that? Because even though we out-hit them, I felt the hits that Vegas got left more paint on us.
I think you're right. There's also a big hit that we didn't show on our broadcast, and it was kind of a miss. But Matt Zuccarello, who I thought had like a real good first period, he got smoked once, and like where he went parallel to the ice, back against the wall, hard. And those are the kind of hits that you remember, and it kind of maybe knocks you off your game a little bit. Zuki popped right back up, but even the linesmen were getting hit. Can we take a second and talk about that? Like Howden like clotheslined the linesman, and then he goes down. And it looked like he was in bad shape.
Yeah. Do we have an update, by the way? I know that the standby referee filled in on the line for the rest of the game, but like I haven't seen an update yet to see how Brian Pancic is doing. You're right. And WrestleMania was here in Vegas this week, and I used the term on the broadcast as well, not trying to make light of the situation, but like it was a clothesline by Howden trying to keep that puck in off the glass. So. Yeah, that was scary. It looked like his arm really got like he landed almost on his armpit. You know what I mean? Like his arm was extended out. So I don't know if he did something in there or if it was a concussion because his head hit the ice. Like he was in rough shape.
I was told it was lower body as when it checked out in the end. You saw he couldn't skate either, and I don't know if that was just the head because he hit his head 3 times. Right? You had the lineman clothesline, you had the wall, and then you had the ice. But I think it might have jacked up his knee as well. I'm not sure, but he really was struggling.
Or hip or something, because it looked like he hit his hip hard on the ice, and it was hard to tell what it was. Yeah. Nonetheless, I hope he's all right.
So just real quick on the in particular the big hits and Zuccarello in particular on top of that, Karch, I won't. I think we've talked about this before, but like the first ever playoff series that I worked for the Wild was the St. Louis series in 21-22. And I remember you telling me after game 1 that, some of the Wild smaller players like a Zuccarello, in a 7-game series, the opponent's trying to make them want to quit, essentially, right? Take them out of their game. Can can a smaller player exist in a long Stanley Cup playoff run? Like what's their impact as the series moves along? I'm paraphrasing here. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I just remember it still very early in that St. Louis series, you bringing up that point to me, like how will these guys handle it? For a player like Zuccarello that gets, absolutely pasted in game one, like what kind of response do you want to see? How do you know that he's not going, well, the golf clubs are, better this time of year anyway? Like, what do you want to see from a player, typically Zuccarello or otherwise, when they get, taken off their game a little bit, or they're getting run throughout a long series against a bigger, heavier team?
Yeah, and it's where you figure out what you are. It's how you become a playoff guy. Like Ryan Hartman he got deleted, cross-checked by Haig, and he goes down, and then he gets hit by, who was it, White Cloud that got him, and then eventually took the penalty, and he got back up. I mean, that's what you have to do, is get back up and get back up and get back up off the mat and just play. And I feel like I'm beating a dead horse when I say this, but that was the challenge in the Vegas series a couple of years ago. And the makeup of that team was very similar to the one now, where they had big, solid defensemen, and it was a different coach, but Pete DeBoer liked the same type of style where you box things up, you kind of have a zone defense, and you wait for a loose puck, you pressure, and then you really get no space. And Matt Zuccarello, Kirill Kaprizov, I think they had 3 points in that series, and it went 7 games, and they just couldn't get to the middle of the ice. So you have to find a way to take those hits, spin off them, and it's a challenge, and that's why, like, the big bodies win, and they become so much more valuable in the playoffs because every inch matters. And when you're finishing every check and you're battling for every loose puck, like, size tends to matter so much more. And there's a commitment even from the smaller guys to have to get to that puck, to get the red line, to get the puck in deep. So they take more hits than they do during the regular season. But the Wild have to either find a way, like a guy like Zuccarello has to find a way to beat those guys with what he's given. He's not going to beat them like in physical plays. So he has to either outsmart them, outskate them, or pass the puck through them, make them nervous so that they're not running around hitting you. But to John's point, you got to give Vegas credit. They don't run around. It's like when they get the chance, they finish their hit, and it seems like it's an impactful hit, but they don't get caught out of position.
Yeah. Did the Wild have an odd man rush last night? I don't really remember.
Yeah, I don't know. They didn't have like a 2-on-1. I think Kaprizov kind of had the one play to Rossi where they had like a 2-on-2, 3-on-2 kind of, and he got it through 2 people. But aside from that, no, they didn't really execute 3-on-2s. They didn't get them. That's problematic. And so we have a stat, and we'll get to Buium next, Kinger, but we pulled up this stat that during the regular season, the Wild, when they get 2+ points from their defense, are like 35, 4-4 on the year. Without them getting points, they're like a 500 club, or 1 point or less. The point is that the Wild need to have that second layer of offense. The D have to be up in the rush, and when they are, they're a much better team offensively and with a record. And I think that's why you put in a guy like Buium and say, all right, go do your thing, get up in the play. And I don't know that they did enough of getting the defense up in the play to kind of force Vegas's hand and get some of these odd man rushes. But what do you think of the game from Buium?
Well, what a unique situation. I was texting the group text, like, do you take a rookie lap in the playoffs? Like, what are the rules with this? His family was on the glass, I heard. I think I really liked how Hines talked about him after the game, because you could tell the reporters were trying to get him to say something even halfway negative, right? Because you had some strange changes. He's got the play at the end where he passed up a few shots. He was deferring a little bit. And Hines was just completely had his back. Like, this is a good player. Everybody on the ice tonight did some good things and some bad things. Like, this is a decision we've made, and we're going to go with it. And it's funny, it really did set up. When he went out there with that group, the 6 players, when they had the goalie pulled, I mean, in hindsight, they end up getting they get some empty netters, we lose. But, I mean, it could have just as easily been a shimmy shake from Buium. You know, Hill doesn't like moving side to side. We're pretty good at that when the power play is going. He could have just as easily been like the rookie hero last night. He doesn't play that much. He comes in essentially for our first power play, even though it's not a power play because we got the goalie pulled, and he helps us tie the game. That could have easily happened. So if I were around Zeev, I would just say, you be you. You be you. And actually be more you than you were last night because some of the things he did in that game is not what he would do in college. He would never. He's like, you could tell he had a little element of, I should probably pass this to the NHL guys that have been in the video game I've been playing. Like, just shoot and skate the puck up the ice. We had a lot of trouble getting out of our own zone. And if you can do what you do, Zeev, don't be shy to, try to help us get it out of there and move it, of course. But I think we just got to see it through. We've done this. We've got him in the lineup. He's a top prospect, and you just stay with it. Stay with it, and hope that you get some pluses for any minuses that you get, and maybe more pluses. But it was. I don't know exactly what happened on the Bogosian one because it seemed like Bogo was closer to the play, but I don't know if it was your broadcast or I was bouncing around because I was on a plane, but there was a bad change there somewhere, but I want to see. I just want to see him get comfortable, and I think when he gets comfortable and feels a little safer, and don't defer. Brock had this problem when Spurgeon would come back. You remember whenever Jared wasn't in the lineup, Brock was like, "I'm the man."
Yeah.
And then when Jared would come back, he'd maybe make an extra pass or not try as many things. That word defer, we got to just write it on a piece of paper, tear it up, and say, you be you, brother, because we need help offensively. It's hard to get to 3. If that guy can help us get to 3, even if he gives up 1 and we win 3-2, I'm all for it, I say stick with the kid, believe in him. Don't be Minnesotans either. I mean, it's a classic Minnesota. Like, if he would have been in the Anaheim game, we're so critical. We're so critical. Like, let the kid be successful, and I think he will be. And what did you guys see? I mean, it's a tough spot for sure, but I thought he handled himself well, and I think he'll only get better.
I would say that I liked what I saw. I'm comfortable saying after albeit one game, he's going to be just fine. He's going to be a star someday in this league. I think you can see the natural offensive instincts, everything we hear about him. He's a competitor, which means he's only going to want to improve, right? Because he's not going to be satisfied with wherever his game's at now as opposed to 6 months from now, 2 years from now, and down the line. So I was very encouraged by what I saw, but I'm with you, Kinger, and I think you put it perfectly. Like, be you, but be you more than maybe you were in game 1. That puck comes to him at center point. It was a pass. I think Kaprizov looking for Rossi in the slot with a minute left, kind of clips, looked like it heel clipped off of Rossi's tape and leaks up to the point, and Buium's got it. Shoot the puck. It's easy to say in hindsight, it's 2020. Let that thing fly. You got traffic around Aiden Hill. Maybe you get one through. Maybe you jam home a rebound. He elected to try and pass to Boldy. William Karlsson, a great player in this league for a long time, kind of a heady player. Good stick, breaks it up. Boldy has to take the penalty. And then after that, really, game's over because Gustafsson was basically trapped in net the rest of the way. So just simplify there, get that thing to the net. Don't worry about who's on either side of you. Don't worry about them being upset at you after the game because you didn't pass the puck. I'd rather see a shot there. Hopefully he learns from that. Now who knows? I mean, maybe he picks his head up at the blue line. There wasn't a lane. Again, hindsight's 2020, easy for me from a broadcast perspective when it didn't work out to go, next time shoot it. Maybe there was no lane, and maybe the pass was the right play. But I like what I saw, the aggressiveness, lugging the puck, his skating is first class. I think the Wild got a really, really good one, even if it doesn't work out this series, that he's, a top-end defenseman because he's trying to get his, gauge the temperature a little bit and get his feet wet. I really do believe that just from one game, I saw enough to go, this kid will be just fine, and Wild fans should be thrilled to have him.
I think so. This is the way it works when you break into the NHL. You play your game, and then the next day the coaches come at you and they say, "Hey, good game," hey, let's watch a couple of clips, and they'll show you a couple of clips of where you can improve, or like, hey, so this is what they were trying to do. Maybe you had too much gap, or this is the play. Like, what do you want to see? What do you like? I think they kind of just say, hey, let's actually watch clips of Shea Theodore, because that's the kind of player that Zeev Buium can be in this series. Let's go to the Dorofeev goal, where Theodore walks the blue line, and the difference between the play working and not working is subtle. And guys are in different spots, so it's not the exact same. But if you look at those two plays, they're very similar. And Theodore with a huge pump fake. It's a fake slap shot, and that froze everybody out in front of the net. That opened up the passing lane to Dorofeev. What Buium did was not sell that shot hard enough, and Carlson was like, he's passing. So he was able to read the player. And Buium's going to be full of misinformation. It's a matter of understanding, all right, this misinformation worked in junior and college, but now you've got to be a little bit better. You have it in you. The smarts are there. You read the play. It's the right play. Get that puck to Boldy on the flank for a one-timer, and it's in the back of the net. I know the simple play is shoot the puck, but Shea Theodore didn't shoot that puck. He faked the shot, sent it over to Dorofeev, and that froze Gustafsson, froze the Wild defense, and it's in the back of the net. Special guys and offensive guys on that blue line, they know those slight little differences, and Buium has that in his game. It's not there yet. I wouldn't expect it to be there game one. But what's encouraging is that you see the offensive IQ on the player, knowing, hey, this is where this puck needs to be, that I should walk the line. I'm taking middle top, and I'm drawing people here, trying to do this, and those things are all encouraging. So I think you almost watch Shea Theodore's tape and say, hey, look how he gets up the ice. Look how he makes his pass. Look at how he kind of freezes people. And Buium then all of a sudden gets built up, and hopefully he can make some of those plays. But Kinger, I actually think you're spot on too, that it could have gone entirely different. And I was actually sitting in the booth waiting, like, hey, the kid's been sitting around this game. It's building. Like, I can see the story coming. He's going to have a big play. It's going to be impactful. Didn't go that way, but it felt like it was close to going that way. But hey, King, I got a transition right here. What do our friends at Cub have for us after this Easter weekend?
Oh, it's time to let's get the grills going, folks. Let's get the vitamin D going. These guys are in hotel rooms. They're stacking up books in their hotel room so their laptops are at the right angle. They're in the heat. It's raining here, guys, in Minnesota. It's going to rain, I think, for a few days. But let's get the grills fired up with some Cub Pub Burgers. Everything you need to flip the page to summer, to have a long, deep playoff run is over at our friends at Cub. You can get your alcohol there. They do deliver. Check out Cub. How would you construct a Game 2 victory?
Yeah, construct a Game 2 victory by making sure the Wild stick to what is one of their strengths, the foundation of their game. Just like the strength of your house is the foundation, the roof, the exterior. So if you are one of the people that have any anxieties about that, or maybe you're within an area that had a storm last year rip through, you've got 12 months to get that covered by insurance. So wildconstruction.com, they have all the resources and tools on their website to help you know if there was a storm, when the date was. Then you just click it, give them a call. They'll get somebody out there, get on your roof, assess the damage. It can take up to 12 months for that damage to show up. You wouldn't want to miss out. And that includes your deck, the windows, the siding. So wildconstruction.com, look them up. They'll make it happen. Kinger, I'm going to roll right into my own before I throw it back to you. Aquarius Home Services, big weekend coming up. It's the Derby weekend, but a lot of people should be riding ponies over at Aquarius Home Services. They've got a fun little petting zoo. It's their open house in Little Canada. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'll be there Saturday afternoon, unless the Wild are playing. But they'll have their best deals on filters, on their water treatment systems. They've got heating and cooling systems, discounts and all that stuff. It's a lot of fun. They roast a pig. They've got barbecue. It's free. Swing by, eat, have fun. Kids at the petting zoo. It's a great spot. Aquarius Home Services, Little Canada, next weekend, open house. Check it out. And Kinger, don't be messing with, what is it? The Minnesota Wild and what else?
My dressing. It's Easter. Just happened. Official start of slaw season. I actually had some slaw yesterday. It is so good. Coleslaw is great. If you're not a big salad guy or you think it's a little boring, coleslaw is like the the cool uncle to salad. It's so good, and Jimmy's is the best. Get the original, get the pineapple, get the jalapeno, which is coming out, a little spicy slaw, 60 calories there. Family-run company, Minnesota company. Gimme Jimmy's. That was tight.
You know
That
what?
was tight.
You know what? That was good. You know why else it didn't feel like a playoff game? Like Joe, who are you hating coming out of that game yesterday? Like where's the hate? Where's the animosity? I don't know that there's anybody.
Yeah, that's the problem. We need more hate.
I agree.
Who cross-checked Hartman in the face?
White Cloud.
That was Haig.
Yeah.
Oh, was
That was Haig.
Yeah, I want to get into that.
Tomas Hertl, maybe, because he had a good
Yeah.
game, you know?
Yeah, here, can I ask you guys something, though? So the hate thing, that was kind of my takeaway, even though the Wild played well and were laying bodies and winning faceoffs and goaltending was fine. I don't feel like Vegas ever felt uncomfortable. Like they look like, okay, we're playing Minnesota. You know, it was a little bit like Carolina jersey, like, oh, all right, round one. Let's break a sweat. Like we didn't. It was almost. I was thinking of this metaphor driving in. When you have a fire pit and you have the white coals. So you've had a big fire for a long time, and the hottest fire is those white coals, but there's no flame, right? So I think we've been in the white coal zone for a long time. We've been grinding, getting to overtime to get a point. Last night looked like a continuation of this treading water experience, trying to get 3 goals, trying not to make mistakes. There was no fire. There was no flame, right? And that's what I love about playoff hockey. And I do believe with the body of work, Marcus Foligno getting 11 hits, they actually cut to him on the bench after Hartman got blasted, and you just kind of saw Marcus sitting there and the computer was working. Like he's going to get somebody at some point, but we didn't have the scrums after the whistle. We didn't have Eriksson Ek getting his face washed. It looked like shaving your legs in the sauna or something. Like it was too white coal. It was it was still a grind. There wasn't a spark, and I'm looking for the spark. I'm hoping it happens in game 2.
Gartz, let me ask you a question. Sorry to cut you off. If you're the Wild, what's the next level? Like how? So I think we all feel like the Wild play pretty well, but the more this conversation's gone along, I'm starting to be like, maybe they weren't good enough. Maybe because I kind of thought game 1 be a chance for the Wild to catch Vegas, right? Because they haven't seen their full lineup. This Wild team was playing with desperation down the stretch to get in. Maybe Vegas is a little sleepy. You catch them, you win game 1. Didn't go that way. So what's the mindset of both teams going into game 2? And then what do the Wild need to do to kind of elevate to go next level to put some more pressure on Vegas to make them feel uncomfortable in the game?
Well, third period, the Wild have been on this game script too often where they're trailing going into the third. Then you see the D pinch a little bit. You see Faber seeing numbers on a puck coming up the wall. He stands in. Then they start to get, extended offensive zone time and second pucks, and then they start to get momentum. But it takes them to the third period to start to play that way. And I think they're playing timid's not the right word. Safe actually isn't the right word. It's probably measured. Like they're not beating themselves. And I look at the advanced stats and the numbers are pretty good. Aside from a couple mistakes and they were big ones, but Saad got in alone, Eichel got in alone. But aside from those couple of plays that were super high danger, the Wild really didn't give that much up. So it's not like they're a ways out of this. It's just, I think, a certain style of play and probably aggression and risk. I mean, heck, we're in Vegas, right? Put it all on black and let's see what happens. And right now, I think what we're trying to do is spread the bet out a little bit and hopefully, kind of hedge. I don't know if we're at the sports book and we're hedging our bet a little bit or cashing out 3/4 of the way through our parlay. But I think they just need to be all in. Like, you don't want to lose this series trying not to lose, go get it. And I think there's a difference, and I think we saw it in the third period. I do think that they have another level of go get it, and that can make Vegas nervous. I think the Wild have a chance to respond too, because you think about the game flow for Vegas. It was never stressed. We got this. Kind of a slow, sleepy start for them, but they were competitive. It's not like they were ever at any point bad or on their heels, but I also think that they weren't like world beaters. And so I think that they might all of a sudden be like, all right, this is going to be a 4 or 5 gamer. We got to it. We've beat them for already this season, and they might just coast through the next one. So I think it's got to be almost max desperation. I don't know how much tactically they can change. I think Hines could switch up the top couple lines a little bit and see if he can't get something going there, or do his thing where he doubles Kaprizov from time to time. But I think it's probably max desperation is probably it, and play to win. Don't play a little less conservative.
Yeah, I was going to ask I think you might have revealed the clue is the defense, playing offense. And last night was interesting because, it's interesting. The big body sure helps. You look at Jake Middleton in that game, and it's just the frame, being able to do your business when you're bigger in the playoffs. This is big boy hockey, and if we can get Jake doing his thing, Spurgeon had a really nice offensive year actually for as much as he played. Brock had an interesting night, because you can tell he understands game situations. He totally knows what this team is about. He knows that if we're going to get to 3, it could take a lot of help from the back end. So he's always kind of pushing it. He might get shots blocked or whatever, but he is definitely a guy that's like, I understand that this is a different gear, even if we're down 1, like we got to go. I think you're absolutely right. If you can get Zeev, somehow being involved in 1 goal a night, and I do think it will come for Brock. He's really he's kind of still figuring out what's the mix between offense and defense. Jake at times has chipped in a lot. Spurgeon, Brodin, I think you're right. I'm going to keep track of that. If I'm seeing defensemen in the box score, tomorrow night, I'm going to start feeling really good, because I think you're absolutely right, because you're going to get some from the big dogs, but in order for this team to go, I think the engine isn't back.
And let's think about our decor, and then let's think about Vegas's decor. What is Vegas's decor? They're big, they're strong, they're stout. They don't have incredible mobility, but they have a system, and they play to it, to where they block shots, they defend the middle of the ice, they're good out in front of Aiden Hill, and it was effective. Let's think about the strength of the Wild's defense. It's mobility. It's Spurgeon, Brodin. Now you've got a Buium in there. Brock Faber can move, and Middleton. He's a sneaky good skater. So I think they've got to play to their decor's strength and say, all right, we can out-mobile their defense. Let's do that. Let's get up the ice. Like I always say this about Brodin. I feel like a broken record, but he can catch anybody on the way back, man. Take risks getting up the ice. You're catching anybody, like you're that good of a skater. And Faber's kind of in that same category. It's a different style of skating, but he's got so much power that he tracks people down. So give him the green light. Go. What do you think, Joe?
I love it. And I was going to say earlier, when I brought up Buium shooting the puck, and then you kind of countered it with here's maybe why he shouldn't have. This is why this is a great podcast, because, and I'm not trying to throw shine on here, you've been there, you've done that. By the way, learned last night that one of the 152 now players to debut in the playoffs is not only Zeev Buium, but the guy, so pretty cool nugget for Mr. Ryan Carter. His NHL debut came in the playoffs. But I love the insight there. You're right about Brodin. You're right about Faber and the way he skates. It's different than Brodin, but there's power in his stride, and he can get back. And yeah, maybe, you'd hate to say wait later in the series to get more aggressive, but the way the Wild, to your point, Carts, the way they played in the third, when they pressed, the way they played in the third period in Vancouver, down 2-0, season on the line. What happens? 22 seconds in, Faber scores, and he was all over the ice the rest of that game. It's time for those guys, the back end, to maybe just be a touch more aggressive. Like, you don't want to wait. Maybe you're down 2-0 or down 3-1 in this series. Like, it's probably too late then. So maybe game 2 is the time to go, you know what? Screw it. We're going to take this thing and see how Vegas responds to it. Maybe they get some odd man rushes. Maybe you need Gus to make a couple of big saves because you were being a little bit more aggressive than you normally would be. But I like the mantra of going out, taking it, using your defense and their ability to skate. The numbers are what they are when they get 2 points in a game. I look, Jake Middleton didn't have a shot at Brock Faber, didn't have a shot on goal, 5 attempts. They need more offense. Like, they average about 20 shots a game in the regular season series. They had 21 last night in game 1. As I said, they've got to get more shots through. And if that means it's coming from the defense, you sold me. Like, let's all in, aggressive, get the D joining the rush, put some pressure on Vegas and make them defend.
Well, and you got something, Karen? Go ahead.
I was going to ask about lines. Because on one hand, we played a good hockey game, but we didn't win the hockey game. So I'm just looking at this and I'm like, this is total fan perspective, total Rube perspective, okay? But if this was like, my fantasy team or something, I'm putting Hartman with Zuki and Kirill. I'm bringing that back. I'm saying, Kirill, you are trying. You're coming back from injury. You're doing good, but I know you're still finding your way back. So I'm going to give you your Sherpa, your Norwegian Sherpa, and Hartsey, a guy that's been all over this team as a Swiss Army knife all year, ups and downs. Mr. Playoff guy, why don't you party with these guys? Something good's going to happen. Stick Eck with JoJo and Boldy. Marcus do some business somewhere, maybe with the big boys. But I'm trying to think. We got kind of this super line right now, and it can get 2 goals. But if you need to get 3, do you need to break that up? Or it's the defense, right? It could be just the defense chips in and we have the right lineup. They just need to be more aggressive. But there's a side of me. I'm watching Kirill, big Kirill guy, as you know, and I can tell he looks healthy, he looks good, but he looks like he's kind of I can see him working. And when you can see Kirill working a little bit, sometimes it gets harder for him. And at some point, it's like when they would put Malkin and Crosby together, they would sample that. They would give that gift to those guys when they needed it. At some point in this series, whether it's on the power play or on a line, I mean, we need more Zuki, Kirill together, maybe, just to kind of have him feel like he's in his house at home in his pajamas. And then I think you can get something with Boldy separate, potentially. Just a thought.
Roll it back. Yeah, roll it back. You go back to when Johansson was first traded here, and it was a similar situation to what they're in right now. It was JoJo in a contract year, instant chemistry with Matt Boldy, Eriksson Ek down the middle, and the top line was Hartman, Zuccarello, and Kaprizov. And Hartman's game was good enough. He deserved more minutes last night, and I think he got more minutes. It can't hurt to try to balance that out up front. But you're right on Kaprizov too. Like it's almost trying too hard. And this is what you love about the guy is that he's a winner, wants to win. And Joe, I don't know if you noticed this too, but watching practice on Saturday, he looked determined. Actually, the entire group did, but he looked like he was at a whole new level. And it was like, oh boy, we might unlock like this new playoff Kirill. He was flying around power play. He was unbelievable, unstoppable. But then the game rolls around, and I think he's trying to be right place, right time, and he's almost thinking. I think you can see him thinking a little bit too, like I should be here, I should be there, this is what I should do. And he's doing all of that, but he's not letting the game come to him. I think he finished with 1 shot on goal, 3 total attempts. And now Boldy had 9 attempts, 2 hit the net, and Ecker had 7 attempts, 4 hit the net. So the line was generating shots, but you have to have your best player be the guy and your best goal scorer be the guy getting the shots. And if Matt Zuccarello is the guy that can get Kaprizov to shoot the puck, I think you're right, Kinger. You absolutely have to put him with him.
I think it changes his whole mentality, Carts. Like, I think when he's playing hockey without Zuki, it's like he's going to the club and running the treadmill for 30 minutes. But when he's with Zuki, he's playing pickleball, out in the yard in the sun. He's happier. And I think when he's happy, he's not thinking. He's not. And by the way, he had 2 points. He's doing fine. I'm just saying I think it's a race to 3. And unless the defense is chipping in like we talked about, you might have to tinker with the lines to make sure you can get the 3 goals. Because I think it's going to be hard to beat Vegas with 2. I did want to ask a question for you guys. So if we ramped up the physicality or if we wanted to find that fire, you clearly can't take penalties against Vegas. And it seems like Vegas doesn't ever take penalties, least penalized team in the league.
Don't get me started.
So how do you get Marcus throwing a helmet and still not end up in the box and have a terrible game, you know?
I think you lay it all on the line, and with that intensity, with that go grab it by the you-know-what mentality, I think that will just spark more physical play, spark more scrums. Maybe it is 17 or 38 for the Wild, dragging guys into the fire by just their play early in game 2. But I'm with you. Like, there's another level there. They've got to find it. They got to find it quick. Game 1 was good. Like, I saw a lot of signs, a lot of things I liked, where I don't think they're going to get boat raced in the series by any stretch. If the Wild are going to win this series, I really believed it was going to be 7 games, like we talked about at the Mall of America pod. Like, it's just Vegas is 2, them 5 or 6 most likely when you're a big time underdog. So you gotta play it like a long series. You got to get the split on the road. You got to go home and take care of business, and you just got to drag this thing out game by game and hope you get the better goaltending and some timely goal scoring. But I think if they go with the mindset of we're getting this game, that will then ratchet up the intensity, the physical play, and hopefully if there are any passengers, they're not passengers for long and they're ready to go.
Hey, what can't we get you going on? What can't we get you started on, Joe? The penalties? How was the refereeing
Yeah,
last night?
it was atrocious. Again, there was a lot behind the play. Like, I didn't really get a clean look at the Hartman thing at center ice in the first period, where he ends up like laying there for 5 seconds, dazed because he got swiped down to the ice 50 feet from the puck. I didn't see it live, the power play goal, but Freddie Gaudreau and John Hines said, yes, it's interference. He got like spiked onto the ice off the draw. That gets called so much in the NHL, the little pick off the face-off. Like, we see it all the time. The offensive blue line pick on the rush on the power play, and then the face-off pick, they get called all the time. Not called. The Hartman cross-check to the face is literally the most egregious miss all season long that I've seen. It makes no sense to me how that's not called. You have a referee behind the net, and you had one out like at center ice or the blue line, and there's a stick to the jibs of Ryan Hartman. Like, it's not – there is no more – if I was like, hey, what's a cross-checking penalty, I would show you that clip. No call. I don't get it. I'm not saying they would have won the game, but I know from seeing the Dallas series 2 years ago, which was, again, one of my first experiences of Stanley Cup playoff hockey in person, being in the cauldron, whatever you want to call it, and the way Pete DeBoer worked that media and worked the officiating in that series, and the Wild try to counteract it and work it back with Dean Evison. When you have a disciplined team, which the Golden Knights were, which the Stars were 2 years ago, probably fewest penalty minutes in the league that year for Dallas. When you have a team that the track record says they don't take penalties, the officials just figured they're not going to take any penalties. They took the fewest in the league. They drew the fewest in the league.
I actually think that I think you're spot on with that. That reputation factors in on refereeing. So you look at the guy that didn't get the calls last night. Who is it?
Hartman.
Minnesota public enemy number 1, Ryan Hartman. And then you look at Vegas. They're a very disciplined team. They don't take penalties, and they missed blatant penalties that are guaranteed calls all of the time, especially the Hartman one on Haig. And it's because it was against Hartman, and it's because it was Vegas.
I would like to see it again, too. The one penalty the Wild took, the Eriksson Ek high stick. I know he clipped him, but I'm pretty sure the reason he clipped him is because he was being interfered with in front of the net. Like, Eriksson Ek was starting to lose his footing because the Vegas defenseman was chopping at him or partially tripping him, and his stick comes up. And I know you got to be, you always have to have control of your stick. That's the rule. But if there's not interference in front of the net because the puck wasn't there, Eriksson Ek doesn't randomly toe pick or lose an edge and come up with his stick and catch him. Like, he was being infracted with in front. Again, I didn't get many good looks at it. I'd like to see that one again. But, that ended up in the back of the net 6 seconds later or whatever. So they're going to have to battle through the officiating and a very good Vegas team in this series. I don't doubt that at all. They might get a call early in game 2 just because of, what John Hines said afterwards, which was a very blatant and blunt, yes, there was interference. They didn't even address the Hartman cross-check that went uncalled. So the Wild probably feel like they're 0-2. If they get them back, they got to make the most of them. I don't know that they will, but they definitely got the short end of the stick in game 1 from the Stripes.
And with those penalties, it's not even about whether we would have won or lost, right? So you got 4 minutes maybe with Zuki and Kirill together, 4 more minutes of play for Zeev. The power play hasn't really worked in a game yet with Buium running it, right? So all of that time, Eck killing it in faceoffs, we would have had a couple minutes where we're taking offensive zone draws, up a man. All of that gets taken away. We don't get that in our body of work. So that was a bummer just to not kind of have that time. You use the analogy all the time, Carts, the marbles in the pocket, right? We didn't get paid back our marbles and even up the calls, which at minimum it should have been evened up, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want I don't want to be the whiny guy. I don't want to be the homer. But, I saw what I saw, and I'm not going to change my stance on it. They got the short end in game 1. Period. End of sentence.
If the Wild can keep the Stars from Vegas as quiet as they did last night, like William Karlsson really wasn't a factor till he took the trip late in the game. Actually got rinsed in the faceoff dot, and Cassidy just kept putting him out there. Jack Eichel, his stat line, 17 minutes. I'm going to have to go through and look, but that might be a season low. To have your number one center in a playoff game play 17 minutes, and it's a 1-goal game, that's amazing. I think that says something about the type of game that Eichel had. He was -1, 2 shots. That's it, 1 hit. The guy was an absolute non-factor in the game. And if the Wild can keep that up, and you look at Stone, Mark Stone, 2 shots. And they're big guns quiet. If the Wild can do that, they've got a chance.
Eichel didn't play 4 games down the stretch with an upper body injury, then played the finale just because I think he wanted to knock the rust off. So I don't know if his game's where maybe he thinks it should be. And I go back to that practice before game 1 Saturday at the Vegas Golden Knights practice rink. I watched a few minutes of Vegas skating. Eichel looked off in the practice. I saw him visibly frustrated a couple of times after drills, simple drills, that he either missed the net on a shot or fumbled a pass, and he just looked like he was rattled at himself. And then he had a long conversation with Bruce Cassidy at their end of their practice. So I don't know if it's scary that maybe he and the rest of the Golden Knights Stars weren't at their best, and that means they're going to get better, or do you credit the Wild for really giving them, not a lot of free ice? I guess you want to look at it glass half full. It's the Wild did a good job checking. But to your point about ice time, Carts, it's crazy. I'm looking at Golden Knights. They were all very much nobody played more than 22 minutes. Nobody played less than 13. They were very much balanced, and their shift length. I never really looked at this before. Their shift length is crazy. One player, White Cloud, had a 50-second average. Everybody else was in the 40s. Every other skater had an average shift length of 40 to 48 seconds. It was crazy how, very much it was methodical with, balancing it out. And again, that shows their depth. That shows their team game. They're going to be a hard team to beat. But you're right. Some of their star players, outside of Hurdle being opportunistic and making a couple of good plays, there weren't a lot of highlight reel plays that they were able to convert on. Obviously, if Eichel scores on the breakaway, maybe we're looking at his game differently. But for the most part, they weren't super noticeable. And hopefully for the Wild, it's not, oh boy, they're going to get going. It's we stay with this approach. We'll continue to give ourselves a chance.
Yeah, Jack Eichel played 17. Keegan Colasar played 14. That's top line center, fourth line
winger, yeah.
Yeah, played nearly the same. No, I just looked at the numbers real quick. Eichel, from time to time, will play 17, 18 minutes. I think his season average is probably up around 19, 20. So he's down a little bit. But, yeah, that's interesting, just the balance that they deploy. Hey, King, I got to ask you, too, do you have any bets, by the way? Because I thought this kind of funny, like maybe 1/100th of a second left. Like we got to talk about the how the game ends before we get out of here. So they get the empty net goal, and the teams leave before they announce that it's a goal or no goal. And there's like 1/100th of a second left. Linesman goes over, or the referee goes over to the dot, drops the puck. Game finally ends. This is probably like 3 minutes after the game ended. So I think the over under was 5.5. So with that empty net, 100th of a second left, they hit the over.
I did
And
not.
the puck line.
I did not
Yeah,
bet
and the
the
puck
over. I bet on every sporting event I watch. What did I have? I had Kirill to get 3 points. He only got 2. This was a good one though. I feel good about how I did. I didn't win this, but I went Trennan over 4 hits. Got it. Kaprizov over a half point. I threw Brady Kachuk in there because I have to have someone from another team. Over 4.5 hits, he had 7. Foligno over 4.5 hits, he had 11. So I was just betting on playoffs. But I needed Zuki and Eck to chip in offensively, which they did not. But I do want to give some bouquets to Boldy. Boldy, I think, used to get like in the playoffs. They were showing his stats last night, but he kind of got a hard time. This is a guy, in the playoffs, it's different. And to have 6 hits and 2 points, and this has really been since the Four Nations in some capacity. He's becoming a playoff guy. I think his thing is consistency, right? So we have to see I hope he keeps hitting, because I think it gets him into the hockey game. I'm not a coach by any means, but I would say you got a recipe here, Matt. You're in the game right away. He got hit himself too a few times, so it's like you're built for this. You're a big, strong forward. You're a game-winning goal guy. Keep playing playoff hockey, Matt Boldy, because it's working for you. And I think he probably knows that, and has a lot of confidence going into this. I think that's the recipe for him. Feel a body. Remind yourself it's a playoff game, Matt. You have all the skill, but just get involved early. And I think his game gets even better when he does that. Did you see that?
Yeah, Cassidy talked about Dorofeev and said that he had a breakout year. And March or so, we think about him and his 40 goals out the door. Who's going to backfill that? It was Dorofeev. And he's a young player. And Cassidy was like, yeah, it's great. It's great. He scored 35. He's a really good player. He's a talented player. And he's learned how to play and score with a little extra weight on him, with bodies hanging on him. And it's only going to be more impactful and more important in the playoffs. Boldy's he's that right now, where he's gotten better with people on him. Like he's almost so good in tight space that he's best not with open ice, but with people literally dragging him or him dragging them around. And I think you're spot on with that. The more physical the game is, the more he seems to rise to the occasion. He's also coming into his own in terms of being like a big moment player, I think, where he wants to be the guy to score that goal, to get the tire, to bring it back. And there's no deferring from him anymore. But yeah, I say we wrap on this, but Kinger, why don't you make us feel, or not, actually, Joe, why don't you make us feel good about this? Because tell us about Vegas in the playoffs last year. They won game 1. They happened to win game 2. Then what happened after that?
Lost series in 7 to Dallas. They were on the road games 1 and 2, came home, dropped 3, 4, and 5, then had a win in overtime in game 6 to force it to game 7, I believe, and then lost that hockey game. So, yeah, I'm pretty close on that. But they were definitely at a 2-0 series lead, lost in 7. They can be had. I think the Wild proved to them they're not the same team they saw 3 times in the regular season. So I think to kind of summarize what I've gathered and the insight I've just gained on this through this conversation is like it's there for the taking if they go out and approach it the right way. And like, I go back to like when the Wild lost to Calgary late in the regular season, it was winning in. They were very disappointed in their effort and how they approached the game. And then when they had the winning in against Anaheim, basically a couple nights later, I said to John Hines, like, what did you learn, or what's the message to the team about being different next time? And he said, attack it. So I want to see the Wild attack game 2. Go out from the first shift, from the first period, put their stamp on this game. play with the lead. As you said, Carts, it'll change the way Vegas approaches things, get the defense involved in the offense, and you're going to need Gus to make a couple of saves. They get those things, I really think they can win game 2, and then we've got ourselves a series.
Yeah, and I was talking to people that follow Vegas, their TV crew, and they watch closely. And before last night's game, even, they said that the issue with Vegas and why they probably weren't better is because they have a tendency to play to the competition, and they're notoriously slow starters. And if the Wild can use that to their advantage tomorrow, get off to a fast start, get a lead, everything starts to change.
Well, that first,
you got anything, Karen, before we?
Yeah, that
walk off?
first 10 minutes were awesome. I mean, the first 10 minutes of the hockey game, that did look like a playoff game, and the Wild were flying. Here's my list for Tuesday. We need the Vegas fan base to dislike some Wild players by the end of the game, to genuinely have a distaste for maybe Ryan Hartman, Eriksson Ek, or Moose, Trennan, whatever. We need Kirill to hug Zuki in the game at some point, to hug him, because that means something good happened, probably on a power play or a different line, and we need 2 points from the D. That's my checklist. I'm just going to have that. I'm going to keep this notepad and just cross them off if I see them happening, and I think we'll be – they say it's not a playoff series until someone loses at home, guys. So we got one more crack at that out in Vegas. So let's go.
All right. Love
We're
it.
here.
All right, we're here.
Till it's here.
Till it's here.
Peace.
Yeah, buddy. All right, thanks, Joe. See ya.